It always rains when I come back here. The kind of rain that doesn't crash. It seeps. Through fabric, through the soles of your boots, through the long-since broken roof of the Kervauld clinic. There's no thunder, just the constant whisper of water pulling this place downward. You'd think after 4 decades, the ground would have swallowed it whole. And yet, here it stands, or slumps. To reach the clinic, you have to take a gravel road off the main autoroute, past forgotten farmhouses and vineyards that stopped producing wine after the frost of '82. The road becomes a dirt path, and that becomes moss, and then there it is. The front steps still hold the indent of hundreds of quiet shoes. You could almost line up the missing people by the shape of their soles. I parked my rental near the main gate. The wrought iron is rusted in place, warped, like it was trying to shrug off the rest of the fence. One post is bent outward. Someone forced their way in or out, probably out. There's a tree leaning against the south wing now. It wasn't there last time. The roots have broken through the tiles of the old hydrotherapy room. The rain collects there in that sunken place like it's mourning something or keeping something submerged. They say this place helped people, that it was progressive. That's the word they used in the brochures. Kervauld specialized in sleep immersion therapy, promising to restore patients who suffered from unresolved trauma, grief, or disassociation. They claimed that by guiding people deeper into their dreams, they could reach a point of reintegration, which sounds poetic until you realize no one ever described what actually happened inside those dream states. Not the patients, not the staff. No one who survived ever remembered the sleep. I should mention now, I'm not a doctor. I'm not even a real investigator. I just find places that don't sit right and listen long enough until they speak back. Places like this one where people went to be healed and instead were forgotten. 17 patients missing over 4 years, 3 nurses, 2 volunteers, and the director of the clinic himself, Dr. Emile Roudon, who was never found after the doors shut for good in 1981. The French Ministry of Health blamed financial mismanagement. The building was ordered closed. No one was charged. The local papers buried it under a week of national elections. But the families didn't forget, and neither did I. The rain gets worse as I step through what used to be the reception hall. Marble tiles cracked, moss climbing the banisters like it's trying to escape the basement. The once grand chandelier has crashed to the floor and is now a quiet nest for silverfish. Everything about this place says, don't stay too long, which is exactly why I'm staying the night. I take out my notebook and jot the first words I always write when I start these kinds of stories. Don't trust the floor. It's not a metaphor. The flooring here is dangerous, especially near the west wing, where flooding collapsed 2 rooms. But it's also good advice in general for stories like this. Never assume the surface is what it claims to be. Not the people, not the history, not even your own memories, especially your own memories. I pick one of the rooms on the east side to drop my bag, room 12C. The door creaks open without resistance, which means it's been opened recently. Inside, the bed is stripped bare, but the pillow has a faint depression, like someone's head lay there not long ago. A few dry leaves cling to the blanket. They're fresh. It smells like dust and rosemary. I check my watch, 4:47 p.m. I've got maybe 3 hours of light left before the power gives out entirely. I'll need candles. This place has no working generator and hasn't for decades. I'm not here to rely on technology anyway. I'm here to find whatever the rain hasn't washed away. Out in the hallway, a drip echoes. Not a leaky pipe. Something slower, rhythmic, too measured. It's coming from the old waiting lounge. I follow the sound. The waiting lounge still has 2 armchairs, both facing a dead fireplace. The sound is louder now. Drip, pause, drip. I turn toward the window. Someone has drawn a symbol on the glass, traced in what looks like condensation. I haven't breathed on that glass. No one has. But the shape is there, a circle with 3 downward slashes. I wipe it off instinctively and immediately regret it. A memory returns I didn't know I had. I was here once. Briefly. When I was 12, my aunt had checked herself in for sleep restoration after my cousin drowned. I remember standing in this exact room. I remember the rain then too, but I don't remember this symbol. Except, I do. The clinic has a way of folding time. The longer you stay, the more days blur. That's what the old night janitor warned before he disappeared in '79. That's what the intern wrote in the margins of her last journal. You won't remember going, but you'll remember leaving. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I'm doing here. And hey, drop your city and your current time in the comments. Let's see how far this story travels tonight. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. By morning, the rain hadn't stopped. That shouldn't surprise me, but it did. I'd fallen asleep to the sound of it against the window panes, thinking maybe it would let up by dawn, give the place a chance to breathe. Instead, it feels heavier now, like the entire forest is sweating. I step out of 12C and nearly slip. The hallway tiles are slick, not from rain, condensation, the kind that comes from a place breathing its own secrets for too long. The air is warmer than yesterday, wet and oddly fragrant, like citrus and old medicine. I'm headed toward the records room, or what's left of it. The clinic had once kept detailed logs. You had to, especially in France at the time. Government oversight on alternative medical practices was tightening in the late 70s. Clinics like Kervauld had to show charts, documentation, therapeutic outcomes, even if the outcomes were things like increased dream yield or reduction in personal timeline fixation. Yes, that's a real quote. Down the corridor, past the nurses' quarters, the door to the records room is open just enough for me to wedge inside. Mold creeps across the filing cabinets like ivy. Most drawers are rusted shut or have already been ransacked, pages torn, documents yellowed beyond recognition. But in the far corner, a short filing cabinet tilts to one side. One drawer hangs halfway open. Inside, I find 17 files, each one labeled with a single name and a single date range. No diagnoses, no birth dates, no photos. Just Marie Belle Colline, 22 Jan 1978 to 11th of June 1978, Theo Dravet, through March 1977 to 4th of April 1977, Anaïs Mercier, 10th Oct 1978 to... The same strange pattern appears in all the files. The pages inside aren't in French or English, they're in mirrored French. Not just printed backward, but flipped horizontally like the words were meant to be read in a reflection. Some of them I can still sound out. Résonance accrue pendant les rêves profonds. Aucune activité cérébrale mais conscience persistante notée, increased resonance during deep dreaming. No brain activity, but persistent consciousness noted. I take photos of the pages and set them aside. Just then, something thuds above me. A single, sharp knock, like a chair being moved across the floor in the room above. I freeze. No footsteps, no creaking, just that one noise, and silence. The upper level is the residential wing. Patients stayed there long term. Dr. Rudon kept his quarters there too, always in the far west end, overlooking the garden. I check my watch, 7:33 a.m., too early for hallucinations, even by this place's standards. Instead of going upstairs, I walk toward the central lobby again. I need to clear my head. Outside the main glass doors, a heavy fog clings to the trees. The pines are still, but their shadows stretch toward the building like they've been waiting all night. On the table near the entrance is a faded sign-in log. You wouldn't think a sign-in sheet could be creepy, but here we are. The last 4 entries are all from August 14th, 1981, the day before the clinic was ordered to shut down. Rudon E, or 0605, Rudon E 66, Rudon E, the same signature, same handwriting, same pen pressure, minute by minute. Like he signed in again and again, desperate to stay anchored, or maybe trying to overwrite someone else's presence. That was the last anyone saw of him. Dr. Émile Rudon was a controversial figure even before the clinic. A neurologist? Yes, but with heavy leanings into mysticism. He claimed dreams were not subconscious illusions, but deep recollections of alternate selves. He believed patients could be guided into those selves, healed through exposure to parallel versions of their trauma. If you think that sounds like sci-fi nonsense, good. So did the board that revoked his license. But then people started reporting strange things. Patients who forgot who they were for hours, speaking languages they'd never learned, referencing towns that didn't exist. One nurse allegedly resigned after a patient called her by her dead mother's name over and over again without ever having met her. That patient was gone 3 days later. Not discharged. Gone. Room empty. Bedding folded, and nobody filed a report. I checked the rest of the logbook. The entry just before Rudon's last sequence was from C. Duval, a nurse intern. She had just turned 21. Her family says she wrote home every Sunday until that final week. Her last postcard mentioned something odd. The doctor doesn't talk anymore, but I still hear him at night, just outside my door. They never heard from her again. I put the logbook down. As I do, I notice something in the corner of the room, near the ceiling. A crack has formed where the wall meets the plaster, running like a vein toward the west wing. From it, something dark seeps down the wallpaper. Not black, more dot gray, like diluted ink. I snap a photo, but the preview on my phone doesn't show the streak. It's just the wall. I blink. Look again. Still there in person. Gone in the photo. Okay, that's normal here. I step into the hallway leading toward the upstairs wing. The walls hum faintly, like the electricity is trying to come back online. Dust spirals in the air like it's been disturbed by motion. Not mine. I run a fingertip along the wood trim. It's warm. No sunlight's touched this part of the building in years. I'll go upstairs, but not yet. Right now, I want to find the original staff list, something that tells me who was here and who was meant to leave. Because as far as I can tell so far, a lot of people walk through these doors, but very few ever walked back out. I found the blueprints under a loose board in the reception desk. Not digital, obviously, just a brittle roll of parchment creased from decades of pressure. The ink has faded at the corners, but I can still make out the name stamped at the bottom. Plan Directeur, Clinique de Kervauld, 1976. Architect Principal A. Rudon. Of course, not just the clinic's director, but its designer. He had this place built to his specifications. Every hallway, every stairwell, every sealed off room. And one room stands out in particular. It's labeled Salle de Guérison Secteur Forêt. That translates to something like Healing Room Forest Wing, but no such room exists on the clinic's official map. And when I trace its location on the blueprint, I realize it juts out deep into the woods, far beyond where the building currently ends. This wasn't part of the original building permit. It wasn't supposed to be built. So, of course, that's where I'm going next. First, I head back upstairs to grab my flashlight. The stairs groan beneath my weight, but they hold. On the landing, I pause to look at the old staff bulletin board, still mounted on the wall. Faded announcements hang in curled paper slips, new pillows in Ward B, blood panel protocol updated, and one that catches my eye. Mandatory orientation, Pavilion Exterior, Tuesday, 9th of August, 1977. Attendance required. Dress appropriately. Do not speak unless addressed. No address. No time. Just Pavilion Exterieur. A separate pavilion? Maybe the same place from the blueprint. I grab my flashlight and head out through the overgrown rear path behind the clinic. The rain has softened to mist now. Everything drips in rhythm. I half expect to see someone watching me from the high windows, but of course there's no one there. Except I do see movement. Barely. Through the fog, maybe 30 feet ahead, a figure moves. Slow, deliberate, wearing something pale. I freeze, but as I squint, the form dissolves into mist. Just trees now. Wet branches and illusion. I push forward. The trail becomes uneven stone, then transitions into packed dirt and pine needles. The smell changes too, less rot, more iron, like blood and old medicine cabinets. Something synthetic. Then there it is. Tucked between leaning trees and wild underbrush stands a small, round structure. Stone walls, no windows. Ivy crawls up the sides like veins. A wooden door stands slightly ajar, hanging on one hinge. This is the healing room, no doubt. The inside smells like eucalyptus and damp wool. The air is dense, like it hasn't been disturbed in years. There's no furniture, no altar. Just a perfectly round space about 15 feet across with a sunken floor in the center, like a shallow basin carved into the ground. And lining the walls? Dolls. Tiny, faceless, handmade figures placed in a perfect spiral. Each one sits cross-legged. Some have bits of string around their arms. Some are headless. One has a real human tooth embedded in its chest. Okay, sure. Normal therapy stuff. There's something carved into the stone just above the doorframe. I have to step back and angle my flash to read it. Dormez. Et ne vous réveillez pas. Sleep and do not wake. I don't like that. In the center of the room, just above the sunken area, I notice a hook suspended from the ceiling. Rusted. Unused. But definitely for something heavy. A pulley, maybe. I don't want to guess what it lifted or lowered. I check the floor. Someone's been here. There are fresh boot prints in the dust. And not mine. Smaller, like a woman's, narrower tread. More than one set. They go in circles, then vanish near the back wall where moss has grown over what looks like a door? I press it. Nothing. I try pulling. Still nothing. Then I hear it. A low hum, like a refrigerator starting in another room. It comes from behind the wall. And then a click. The hook above me shifts, just a little, enough to creak. I don't stay long after that. I retrace my steps quickly, back through the woods, back through the fog. No more illusions. No pale figures, but something's shifted. The clinic looks different as I approach again, more alive, or maybe just more awake. In the lobby, I dry off and review the photos I took of the dolls. One of them looks newer. Its string is red, bright red, like embroidery thread. Its arms are twisted backward, and it's sitting in a tiny wooden chair. Wait, that chair looks exactly like the one from room 12C. I zoom in. There's a stain on the seat. Same pattern, same size. I glance toward the hallway. Room 12C's door is now closed. I didn't close it. I didn't. Okay, joke's over. So let's review what we've got so far. A clinic that ran an unregulated therapy program. A director who built secret rooms and had dreams about alternate selves. A hidden forest room with handmade dolls and spirals. And a patient list where most names have a missing exit date. There's no record of this healing room in any inspection file. The ministry never mentioned it in their report. The families never saw it. And yet it exists. The academic community remains divided on Kervauld's real purpose. Some call it a failed experiment in holistic treatment. Others claim it was a sleep cult masquerading as medicine. But the spiral of dolls, the hook, and the mirrored files say something else entirely. Something older. I've got more to find. And if this rain ever stops, I'll head back into the West Wing. But if it doesn't, well, you know how that goes. I make my way back to the main building just before night falls. There's something about the West Wing that doesn't like being visited after dark. Even in the files I found earlier, this part of the clinic shows up the least. One hallway, 5 rooms, no notes. But every staff testimony that survived mentioned one phrase, Pavillon Noir. The Black Wing. I didn't notice it before, but once I shine my flashlight down the corridor, I see why it might have gotten that name. The tiles here are darker, slate gray instead of cream. The wallpaper, once pale blue, is stained almost black from years of water damage. The doors are heavier, reinforced. They locked people in here. That's not a guess. Each door has an observation slit and a latch that locks from the outside. This wasn't a spa retreat. These were containment rooms. I check room 1. Empty. A twin bed stripped bare. No personal items. Room 2 still smells like lavender. The floor is scattered with torn magazine pages. All the faces scratched out. Room 3, something's behind the bed. I crouch, shine the light under. There's a child's drawing, curled at the edges and stuck to the floor with age. It shows a woman lying in bed, surrounded by floating heads. All of them smiling. Above them, someone wrote in crayon, She didn't come back from sleep. The rest of the rooms are worse. One has a clawed mattress. Another has a mirror mounted directly across from the bed. Why? No one here was allowed to have mirrors. At the far end of the corridor is a door without a number. It's painted entirely black. The latch is bolted. The handle is warm. I don't open it. Not yet. Instead, I double back to the old administrative office. I need more context, something to tell me who stayed in this wing and why no one talks about them. The office door is stuck. Water has warped the frame, but a solid shoulder shove does the trick. Inside, the shelves are caved in, but one metal drawer remains locked tight. I use a screwdriver to force it open. Inside, a collection of old notebooks bound in red fabric, patient journals, or what's left of them. One stands out immediately. It's labeled only MD. I flip it open. Dr. Rudin says we will be able to leave once the dreaming stops. I don't understand why we're not allowed windows, but the nurses bring us tea and the tea helps. Entry number 3. The dreams are more real than the days. I walk the same hallways, but there are no doors. Sometimes I meet myself, but taller, older. She calls me the second. Entry number 7. I saw someone in the mirror again. Not me. She didn't blink. I don't think she sleeps at all. Then, entry number 9. I woke up with stitches behind my ear. I asked the nurse why, and she said, "You agreed to this," but I don't remember agreeing to anything. There are no entries after that. Just a final page torn halfway through. Someone wrote 2 words before it ripped. He's inside. Inside what? Inside who? I don't know yet. I checked the other notebooks, but most are too damaged. Mold has eaten the ink, or pages are fused together. One has been entirely scribbled over in thick black marker, so aggressively that the paper ripped straight through. But one loose slip of paper falls out from between the journals. It's a printed medical report. Name, Madeline Dro, date 18th of July, 1978. Procedure, Noirvet, trial phase 2. Duration of immersion, 73 hours. Notes, subject exhibits bleed through, residual cognition from dream state into waking body. Subject's second persona believes itself to be the original. Recommend isolation. Noirvet, that's the word. It shows up again. I remember seeing it scratched into the wall of the healing room, so faint I almost missed it. I thought it was just a name, but now it's clear. It was an injection. A drug. Maybe not legal. Definitely not tested. But something Rudin believed would let patients bypass the body's natural waking filter, to let them remember what the rest of us forget when the alarm clock goes off. Bleed through. Residual cognition. Second personas believing they're original. That would explain the things I've been seeing, the faces not blinking in mirrors, the figures that vanish in fog. Maybe they're not ghosts. Maybe they're leftovers. Versions of people who were never supposed to survive the dream state, but did. Some academics tried to write off Kervauld as a mass psychosis case. Others claim the disappearances were exaggerated or that patients simply left and didn't report it. But how do you explain the sealed rooms? The missing files? The parents who received birthday cards from their children 2 years after the clinic closed, in handwriting they swore was real? You can't fake that kind of pain. The rain starts again, louder this time. I step outside the office to check the window in the corridor and nearly jump. A figure is standing in the garden, still, unmoving, dressed in white, just beyond the trees. I turn off my flashlight, and now, nothing. It's gone. Just the garden, swaying under the weight of the rain. This place doesn't show you things. It pulls things. From somewhere deeper. It excavates what you forgot you buried. Tomorrow I'll go deeper into the West Wing. I'll try the black door. But for now, I'm going back to room 12C. I need to check something, because when I left this morning, the chair in the corner was empty. And now I swear I saw something small sitting in it. Watching the door. Room 12C isn't how I left it. First off, the chair in the corner, the one I mentioned, it's been moved, not just a few inches. It's turned completely around, now facing the window instead of the bed. And sitting on it is the red thread doll from the healing room. The same one. There's no way that's a coincidence. I didn't bring it here. I didn't even touch it when I was out in the woods, but here it is. Legs crossed, tiny arms looped backward, that same red thread coiled tightly across its torso like a sash. Its little head is tilted just enough to make me feel like it's listening. I approach slowly, no sudden movements, no flashlight. Its eyes aren't drawn, just tiny burn marks pressed into the fabric like someone used the tip of a match. This has to be a setup, but by who? There's no one else here. I checked. Again and again, unless, no, I don't want to think that way. I reach for the doll, intending to move it outside and burn it maybe. But just as I touch the thread, I hear breathing, not mine, behind me, low, raspy, tired. I spin around, but the room is empty, just shadows, just the usual hum of wet walls and old wood. The doll falls to the floor. I back away from it like it bit me. I grab my flashlight, aim it toward the hallway, and decide right there, I'm not sleeping in 12C tonight. Instead, I do what any idiot in this situation does. I go back into the West Wing, because if I'm losing it, I'd rather lose it all the way. The hallway is colder now, much colder than it should be, and the air smells like metal, like an operating room after someone says, oops. The black door is still there, still sealed, still humming faintly, and now I open it. Inside, the room is pitch black, except for one thing. An old CRT monitor in the far corner, powered by a half-buried cable running under the floor. It flickers to life the moment I step inside. No sound, just a video, black and white, a hospital bed, a woman lying motionless, wires on her forehead. Then a timestamp, 18 Juillet 1978, Hu 244. That's the same date as Madeleine Dro's file. The woman in the bed, it must be her. She looks peaceful, too peaceful. The screen glitches once, then again, and then the image jumps. She's sitting up, eyes wide open, staring at the camera. The lights in the room flicker in sync with the monitor. I step back and the tape skips again. This time, the figure on screen is no longer lying down. She's standing in the corner of the room right where I'm standing, facing the same direction I'm facing. I glance at the shadows around me. Just walls. I hope. The monitor crackles, then dies. I'm left in silence. No time to process. My body takes over. I get out, quickly. Back in the hallway, I rest against the wall, trying to catch my breath. I reach into my coat pocket to grab my notebook, but my notebook isn't there. Instead, I find something else. A small glass vial, black fluid inside, thick, sluggish, stamped with a red mark. N2V Noirve. I didn't pack this. I didn't bring this. But now it's in my pocket. I hold it to the light. The fluid seems to shimmer, like it has depth, like it's not just liquid, but layered. I tilt it slightly and see a swirl form, not a natural one, a patterned one, like a fingerprint or a map. The weirdest part? The bottle is warm, not room temperature, body temperature, like it's been in someone else's hand minutes before I found it. I don't open it. I'm dumb, but not that dumb. Instead, I put it back into my pocket very carefully and head down to the basement. Because now I need answers. And according to the clinic's design, there's one more location that hasn't been explored yet. The root cellar. Back through the kitchen wing, what's left of it, and down a rusted spiral staircase. The air thickens the deeper I go. My flashlight flickers once, twice. The battery shouldn't be dying, but everything electrical down here seems to short out. The cellar door is heavy, bolted shut with 3 latches. Not security latches, containment ones. I undo them. The door opens. Inside, the floor is stone. Damp, circular, lined with empty cots, all facing the center. There's a single chair placed right in the middle. A spotlight hangs above it, unplugged. On the walls, scrawled in charcoal or maybe something worse, are the same words over and over again. Je suis resté éveillé. I stayed awake. Dozens of times, some spelled correctly, some smudged, some carved into the stone itself, deep and deliberate. One sentence, larger than the rest, reads, Celle qui ne rêve plus vous regarde maintenant. She who no longer dreams is watching you now. I don't stay long in the cellar. I close the door behind me and latch it, maybe not to keep anything in, but to keep myself out. Back upstairs, I try to make sense of what I've seen. A drug meant to carry patients deeper into sleep than the body allows. A therapy that fractured people, left pieces behind. A room filled with dolls sitting in spirals. A girl who stared into a camera from a decade no one wants to remember. And now a vial in my coat. This place doesn't operate on memory. It runs on residue, on what gets left behind. And if I'm not careful, I'm going to leave a version of myself here too, maybe one that doesn't blink. Or worse, one that wakes up before I do. I wake up on the hallway floor with the bottle still in my pocket. No memory of falling asleep, no dream to trace. Just that classic stupid disorientation you get when you nap somewhere you're not supposed to. My neck hurts, my back hurts, my brain hurts in that weird static way like I've been unplugged and reconnected. Badly. The hallway is darker than before. The windows, what few there are, have fogged over. Not from outside, but from the inside, like something's been breathing on them. I check my watch. It's blinking 0. The kind of reset it only does when it's dead for a few minutes and comes back to life confused. Same goes for my phone. No bars, no time, no apps. Just a grainy photo of a tree I don't remember taking now set as the background. And the tree's moving, just a little. Swaying, even though it's a still image. If this is a prank, it's high effort. If it's a breakdown, it's cinematic. I shake my head, force my body up, and make one of the worst decisions of this entire trip. I head to the dormitory level. The long hall of rooms where the patients once lived, the sleepers, as Madeline called them in her notes. Each door is numbered. Some still have the original plaques. Eiles Hest. 13 Residence, Clinique Somnia. The first few rooms are mostly empty. Old metal beds, springs rusted, a few torn mattress covers, mold, dust. The usual aesthetic of neglect. But then room 6 gives me pause. The door is ajar, not broken, not forced, just slightly open, as if someone stepped out a second ago. I push it open with the toe of my boot. Inside, a woman's coat on a hanger, a pair of shoes lined neatly under the bed, a nightstand with an open book. I walk over. The book, it's in English. Conversations with the Dreaming Dead. Someone annotated every page. Tiny scribbles in pencil, mostly questions. What does it mean to know you're dreaming? Why does memory hurt more when you wake up? Can dreaming make you guilty of things you didn't do? And circled at the bottom of one page, false awakenings. Look for double shadows. I scan the room. There are 2 shadows under the chair. One from my flashlight beam, one that doesn't belong. I back out fast, careful not to breathe too loudly. I shut the door as silently as I can. Whatever's in there, I don't want it knowing I saw it. At the end of the hall is room 13. The door is different, metal-plated, locked from the outside, the kind of door you only install when you expect something to try to leave. And on it is carved, by hand, not machine, just 3 words, Revus en Racine, Rooted Dreamer. Something's off here. It's not a patient's name. It's a title, a role, a function. I'm starting to suspect Noirveh wasn't just a clinic for sleep disorders. I think they were breeding dreamers, testing limits, testing minds. I fish through my coat and realize the vial is gone. Panic sets in immediately. I didn't drop it. I never would have. It was in the deep inside pocket, hidden under 2 zippers. Someone took it. I sprint back to room 6. Gone. No coat, no shoes, no book. Just an empty room that smells faintly of mint and something burnt. I glance back down the hallway. A figure is standing in the far end now. Not walking. Just waiting. I kill my flashlight. It doesn't move. I whisper because I don't even want to hear myself say this. Are you the rooted dreamer? Nothing. Not even breath. But as I step backward toward the stairs, the lights flicker overhead, and for one awful second, I see that there are 3 shadows in the hallway. Not 1, not 2, 3. And none of them are mine. I take the stairs 3 at a time. My legs are jelly. My lungs hate me. Back on the main level, I head for the east wing. There's an office I haven't checked. The files might tell me more. The door creaks open slowly like it's been waiting to make an entrance. Inside, a desk, several filing cabinets, and a glass case mounted on the wall, locked with a numeric keypad. The desk has drawers. Most are empty. One holds a stack of Polaroids. Each one shows a different patient, asleep in bed, their eyes covered in mesh tape. Some are labeled with initials, MD, LP, EV. But one photo stands out. A child, no more than 7, no tape, eyes wide open, staring straight at the lens. The name scribbled underneath is just Cleo. And someone has written beside her name, failed route, never sealed. The cabinet beside the desk is locked, but the drawers are flimsy. I pry one open with a letter opener I find in the pen tray. It splits easily. Inside are hand-typed logs. Experiment 4B, somatic residue tracking. Dr. Madeline Drew. Subject 12 reports recursive dream folding, initiated artificial induction via NV compound at 0.07 dosage. Dormant memories began cross-pollinating. Recorded 3 anomalous vocalizations during unconscious state. Subject 12 ceased all motor functions at 2:13, but EEG activity spiked. At the bottom, someone wrote in red ink, seal broken. Memory leak initiated, site compromised. Prepare for noir fade. There it is again, the phrase noir fade. I don't know what it means yet, but I think I'm in it, and I think I've been in it longer than I realize, like maybe I've already been under, already dreaming. And the shadows, they're not part of the dream. They're waiting for me to realize it's over. There's something people don't tell you about dreams. It's not the unreality that unsettles you. It's how real it feels just before it breaks. That glimmer of logic, just enough to make you trust the impossible. And then the sharp, sickening drop when you realize none of it made sense. That's what walking back through Noirve feels like now. I'm hyper-aware of my footsteps. The building seems to breathe around me. The wood groans with pressure I don't feel. Doors creak open even though there's no wind. That kind of thing. You try to laugh it off, but nothing's really funny anymore. I go to the stairwell again, this time heading down. Basement level. I didn't want to go there earlier, but the file said, prepare for noir fade. And if that means what I think it means, some sort of shutdown or wipe or containment, I don't want to be trapped topside when it happens. The stairs are concrete, slick with condensation. There's a sign near the bottom, rusted over but still legible if you squint. Somatic recall storage. Authorized entry only. Perfect. Totally comforting. My flashlight is flickering now. Battery's low. Just one more charming layer to this psychological onion. The basement smells like cold metal and old sweat. You ever smell old sweat that's been locked in a room for decades? It's not beau. It's more like grief, like the walls remember something you shouldn't. I pass a series of storage rooms. Most are empty. One still has cots, maybe for overnight observation. And then I find it, the somatic recall lab. The door is half open, and on the other side, I finally see something I wasn't expecting. A tape recorder, still running. The reel is spinning slowly. Someone either left it running or it just started itself. I press stop, then rewind. When I play it back, the voice is unmistakable. Day 43. Cleo entered somatic state without induction. EEG pattern remains non-Newtonian. She's speaking to someone in the fade, but the conversation is fragmented. We still don't know who the third one is. Pause. You ever hear something that doesn't sound creepy until your brain processes the implication? Non-Newtonian is not a word you want used in neurology. And the third one, there's a second voice on the tape. Softer. A child's. I didn't let her in. She came through the wrong door. I told her she wasn't real. Silence. Then, but she's learning how to be. I shut it off. I'm shivering now. I don't know if it's cold or adrenaline or just existential dread crawling down my spine. In the center of the lab is a tank. Yes, a literal tank, large enough to hold a person. Wires attached to the top. Inside there's fluid, milky and still, and floating in it. No. There's a face. It blinks, only once, and not like something reacting, more like something waiting. My brain refuses to let me register whether it's human. The worst part? It looks exactly like the girl from the photo, Cleo, hair floating in delicate strands, eyes wide, calm, too calm. Her hand is resting against the glass as if reaching out, not to get out, but to keep something else in. I back away. My foot knocks into a file cabinet and a folder spills out. Pages scatter across the floor, but I only see one clearly. Sleeper 13, rooted protocol, secondary induction. Phase 4 results, unstable tether. Audio bleed from adjacent memories. Subject reports presence of another Cleo in dreams. Hold on. Another Cleo? That's when it hits me. This whole place, this whole experiment might not be about treating sleep disorders at all. They were mapping consciousness. Or maybe cloning it. Not physically, but somatically. Dream clones, fragments, echoes. Trying to control them, trying to root one into permanent existence. I mean, if you could pull a perfect version of someone out of a dream and anchor it to this world, what would stop you? Morality? Please. I grab the folder. I need to see the rest. There's a diagram, layers of brain activity intersecting with symbols that are not scientific, more like ritual markings. One page simply reads, memory graft failed. Rooted dreamer escaping through visitors. Visitors. Not patients, not doctors. Me, people like me, tourists, documentarians, journalists. How many of us came here thinking we were discovering an old asylum story only to get pulled in? I checked the last page. It has a list of names. Some are crossed out. One isn't. It's mine. Not handwritten, printed, typed in neat black ink like it's always been there. How the hell did they know I'd be here? I look back at the tank. Cleo's face is closer to the glass now. She's not blinking, and there's a slow ripple in the fluid, like something's moving behind her. Then she smiles, just a little, and vanishes. Not like she swam away, like she was never there. And I'm left alone in a lab full of names, shadows, and memories that might not be mine anymore. Let me know when you're ready for the Vietnamese version, or if you want to continue with part 8. Okay, let's just say this outright. I'm not in control anymore. I walk out of the basement, folder clutched tight, tape recorder still spinning inside my head. Cleo, or whatever's left of her, has rewired the entire vibe of this place. Now it doesn't feel haunted. It feels occupied. The weird part is, it's not even threatening. It's worse than that. It's patient, like it knows I'll keep coming back, no matter how scared I am. Like it's watching to see how far I'll go. You know that feeling when you leave a room and realize you forgot your phone, but when you come back, it's not where you left it and you know no one else was in there? That's what walking back into the halls of Noirve feels like now. The elevator in the East Wing, the one marked Varpanat Therapies Advanced and Discontinued, has opened on its own. Because of course it has. Inside, there's that same flickering light from the chapel footage, the one that blinked in threes, the one that started right before patients began vanishing. I step in. There are only 2 floors listed, 2 and 5. Weird, right? No ground floor, no basement, just those 2. Naturally, I press 5. The door's shutter closed. The ride up is silent except for the buzzing of the overhead light, which pulses. 1, 2, 3. Then darkness. I don't mean the lights flicker. I mean everything turns black, and for 3 seconds I feel like I'm not in an elevator anymore. I'm somewhere else. It smells like soil, like something being dug up. And just when I'm about to shout, light, ding, the doors open, and I step into what I can only describe as a replica of a living room. No, not just any living room. My living room. Same furniture, same pictures on the walls, my couch, my rug, my chipped mug on the coffee table. Only, it's wrong. The coffee in the mug is steaming, the TV is on, playing static, and there's someone sitting on the couch. I don't see her face. She's facing away, hair long and dark, exactly like Cleo's. She speaks without turning. It's safer when you remember it like this. I don't respond. I can't. She continues. You're not supposed to stay awake this long, they'll notice. Who will notice? I want to ask, but I can't form the words. Instead, I walk around the couch to face her. She's not Cleo. She's me, eyes open wide, staring blankly, not surprised, not scared, just observing. She tilts her head like studying a specimen, then softly, I'm your retrieval. I swear for a second the world bends, like the room folds inward and expands at the same time, like a dream collapsing. You ever lucid dream? That moment when you realize none of it is real and things start to glitch? That's what this is. My duplicate self begins to blur at the edges, her voice glitching out like a corrupted MP3. We can't both stay. You're contaminated. The fade won't hold us both. And then her skin splits, not with blood, but with light. Pure white. And behind that light, I see dozens of rooms like cells. Each one contains a different version of me. Some asleep, some screaming, some standing motionless facing a wall. And in one of them, Cleo, still a child, still waiting. I stumble back, trying to ground myself. I grab the edge of the coffee table and my hand goes straight through it. That's when it hits me. I'm not dreaming. I'm in the dream. Noir fade isn't a memory loss condition. It's a place, a net, a trap, a recursive simulation built from the fragments of people's minds, and they've been feeding it for years. Not just recording memories, breeding them, letting them multiply and mutate until the dream is stronger than the host. I look at myself, my other self, she smiles. We need anchors. They used to send volunteers, now they send tourists. Oh no. The file said they closed the facility in 1996 after a failed induction protocol. But what if it never closed? What if they just turned off the lights and let the fade run itself? And what if every few years it pulls in someone curious enough to find the truth? Like me. The elevator dings again, only this time the doors don't open. They just fold inward, like petals, revealing a hallway made entirely of mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different version of me. Not metaphorically, literally. Me at age 10, me asleep at my desk in college, me waking up during surgery, me looking out my childhood bedroom window, watching snowfall. Each one says something different. You already said yes. You don't leave this time. Tell them I was never real. They say it in perfect unison, like a chorus. I walk past the mirrors, heart pounding, and at the very end of the hallway, a final door. Carved in the wood, chambre de l'écho, room of the echo, the last room in the registry, the room no one ever documented. I don't want to go in, but you and I both know I'm going to, because that's the rule of the dream, right? You keep walking. You always keep walking until something wakes you up. I push open the door to the chambre de l'écho, expecting it to creak like every cliché horror movie ever made. It doesn't. It's silent, like I've just broken the seal on a vacuum, like I wasn't supposed to come in here. I step inside and suddenly the sound dies. Not just noise, but everything. My own breathing, my footsteps, even the soft hum that's been following me since the elevator. It all gets swallowed. You ever sit in one of those anechoic chambers where sound doesn't bounce? People say if you stay too long, you start to hear your own blood moving. That's what this is like, except there's no heartbeat, no body, just a floating sense of self. The room is huge, endless almost, covered in black velvet walls and a floor that's neither hard nor soft, like walking on a memory foam mattress that's been listening. In the center is a single chair, old, wooden, the kind you find in a grandmother's kitchen. On it, a child-sized white dress, folded perfectly, not dusty, not decayed, just fresh. And sitting beside it, stacked precisely like an altar, are notebooks, at least 100. Identical covers, soft brown leather, gold thread down the spine, and one name printed neatly on each, Cleo Madeleine Dubois. This is where they kept her. Not her body, her mind. Each book is a version of her story, a replay, a possibility, a variant of how she could have vanished or returned or never existed at all. I flip open the first one. It's written in my handwriting. The second, same. Third, still me. My penmanship, my word choices, my little sarcastic asides in the margins. Did I write these, or did the fade do it for me? A theory hits me hard. Maybe this story isn't about Cleo. Maybe Cleo was just the bait, and I'm the real subject. I sit down hard, suddenly exhausted, like I haven't slept in years. And on cue, yep, because of course, one of the notebooks on the bottom of the pile vibrates. Don't ask how. It just does. And then a voice, Cleo's voice, soft and echoing from inside the notebook. You're almost there, but you don't know what you're looking for. I whisper, because I'm scared to hear my own voice at full volume. What am I looking for? She replies without missing a beat. The first rewrite. What? She continues, like it's a bedtime story. They made me disappear 100 times, in a fire, in a well, in a chapel. They called it a study, but really it was grief. Their own. They tried to fix their sadness by rehearsing it, and I was the rehearsal. You know how scientists will repeat trauma simulations on mice to study long-term effects? That's what this is. Cleo was someone's daughter, someone's patient, someone's test subject, and when they lost her, they couldn't accept it, so they put her memory in the machine, noir fade, and just kept running the tape, over and over, trying to get an ending they could live with. But the fade doesn't care about your endings. It eats them. And it doesn't just trap the subjects, it traps the watchers. That's why all the researchers vanished. That's why the hallways reshuffle. Why my living room showed up 5 floors above a sealed asylum basement. Because I've watched too long. And now I'm part of the script. You may not survive this. Yeah, I told you that up top. But now I believe it. Here's the thing. The fade isn't just a program. It's a parasite. It needs new minds to rewrite, new voices to record. And I've been giving it hours of monologue. That little tape recorder I found? Guess what? It's been on this whole time. Recording me. Feeding the loop. I take a step back, heart thumping, and suddenly all 100 notebooks burst open. Pages flutter like wings. Voices, hundreds of them, cry out from the paper. Some plead, some laugh, some scream. And one says clearly, calmly, to leave, you have to forget her. That's the final protocol, isn't it? The way to escape the fade is to abandon the subject, to accept that the person you're looking for no longer matters, or never existed, or was invented by the machine to keep you looping. I could walk away, shut the door, say her name never mattered, say she's just a file on a drive, just a spooky sleep story. But you and I both know I won't, because I've already seen her. She's in here somewhere, and even if she's not real, I owe her an ending, a real one. I gather the notebooks into my arms. I don't even know why. Maybe some part of me thinks I can read my way out of this place, but just as I turn to leave, I see it. The final mirror, not like the others from the hallway. This one's round, antique, cracked in the corner, and in the reflection, it's not me. It's her, Cleo, standing in the room barefoot in that same white dress. She smiles, not scared, not sad, just ready. And her reflection mouths 2 words, say it. Say what? Her name? My name? Or maybe, just maybe, the ending? Because maybe that's the only way to stop looping, to finish the story. But I hesitate, because I'm not sure which version this is. The real one, or just one more echo in the endless script, and that uncertainty, it's enough to keep me here just a little longer, just long enough for the next scene to load. The mirror is still showing Cleo, and I'm still not moving. Not because I'm scared, okay, maybe a little, but because the whole room feels weighted now, like gravity's increased, like the air's too thick to walk through. Cleo's reflection waits. No blinking, no breathing. Just patience. The kind of patience that comes from knowing time isn't real here. The books in my arms start to warm up. Not hot, but alive, like something inside them wants out. One by one, the names on the covers begin to fade, literally, like ink dissolving in water. Then, new names appear, all mine, but spelled differently. Cleo Madeleine Dubois becomes Cleo Madeleine Dubois, Clea Madison Dubus, CM Dubose, and then simply, me. I don't know who I am anymore. Here's the messed up thing. I'm not even sure I was looking for Cleo to begin with. What if I was always just following my own footprints in a story that didn't need me? Let's rewind a second, because this is the part where everything gets theoretical. There's an academic paper that once suggested grief has a resonant architecture. Like, if you build a space specifically designed to process loss, your mind will keep returning to that space forever. Guess what? That's what this room is. That's what noir fate is. It's the cathedral of unresolved memory, not built by hands, but by attention. Every person who came here looking for answers helped build it, brick by brick, emotion by emotion. So the more I search, the deeper it grows. And I'm not alone. Behind the mirror, shapes are moving. Not reflections, people. Some wearing lab coats, some in those stiff linen gowns patients used to wear. One guy in a suit with no face, like a painting someone wiped clean. They're not ghosts, not hallucinations. They're versions of people who got stuck in their own loops. And as I stare, I feel the floor ripple, literally bend and stretch like it's made of cloth. My footing disappears, and suddenly I'm falling, not down, but across, like the world just turned horizontal. I land hard on wood, old wood. I sit up, dazed. I'm in a train car. Okay, sure, because why not? Outside the window is only fog, no tracks, no landscape, just pale gray mist with occasional flickers of purple like static on an old TV screen. There are people in the car with me, 4 of them. They don't notice me. They're locked in conversation, repeating the same lines every 30 seconds. Do you remember her name? No, but I remember the way she looked at the moon. That wasn't her. That was the copy. Oh, then what were we mourning? It loops. On the table between them is a photograph. I lean in to see it. It's Cleo, except not really. Her face is scratched out on purpose, carved away with a razor or something worse. But the caption is still visible, the first daughter of Fade. That's when it hits me. Cleo wasn't the first victim. She was the prototype. The Fade doesn't just simulate people, it builds them. It took scraps of grief from 100 families and assembled a child who could carry all their sorrow. She was never missing, because she was never whole to begin with. And now the Fade's trying to do it again, with me. I yank open the train car door and step into another hallway. Of course, same endless lights, same flickering ceiling, but this time I hear something new. Music. Low, lilting, played on a music box. The melody is warped, like it's been slowed down 30%. I follow it. What else can I do? Each step I take, the walls change. Pictures start appearing. Family portraits, Polaroids, medical scans, missing posters. All versions of Cleo. As a baby, as a teenager, as an old woman, as a shadow. Then the music stops. I'm in a circular room now, empty except for a machine in the center. It's shaped like a carousel with metal arms stretching out in all directions. Each arm holds a reel of film, all spinning at once. This is it, the core of Noir Fade, the playback engine. Above it, etched into the ceiling, a memory replayed becomes a lie. I step closer. A panel lights up with a simple question. Do you accept this ending? I reach out to touch the panel, but then I hear it again. Cleo's voice. Only this time, it's not gentle, it's angry. Don't accept what they gave you. You're not done yet. And then the machine begins to shake. The films unravel. The reels spin faster. Images flicker on every wall. Dozens of false endings. Cleo in a church fire. Cleo walking into a lake. Cleo being led into a basement. Cleo dissolving into light. Me reading her story again and again and again. Each ending contradicts the last because the Fade doesn't want resolution. It wants recurrence. It feeds on unfinished business, and I've been feeding it like an idiot on a podcast mic. But now I understand. The only way to beat a looping story, break the loop. That means no ending, no tidy explanation, just silence. So I reach for the machine and I shut it down, all of it. The reels stop. The room collapses into dark, and for a moment, just one, there's peace. No Cleo, no me, no Fade, just silence. But of course, it doesn't last because the next sound I hear is you. Still listening, still watching. And if you're still here, then the story's still running. I wake up in a bathtub, ice cold water, fully clothed, no memory of how I got here. Classic horror movie start, right? Except I'm not scared, just tired. The room is small, tiled walls, flickering overhead light. One of those mirrored cabinets above the sink, half open, and carved into the porcelain edge of the tub right by my hand are 4 words, "Do not remember me." Great. We're back to riddles. I stand slowly, drenched and aching. My fingers are pruned. The water smells like salt, not chlorine, not bleach, salt, like tears or oceans or funerals. There's a knock at the door, just once, soft, like someone testing if I'm awake. I call out, "Hello?" No answer. Instead, something slides under the door. A photo. It's me, or someone close enough to be me. Same face, same dark hair, but they're younger, smiling in a hospital bed, wearing a patient gown. And in the background, Cleo, staring straight at the camera. No smile, no emotion. The note on the back of the photo reads, "This is how they start. This is how you started. I step into the hallway. Everything's changed again. No more train cars, no endless corridors. Now it's an office building. The lights are too bright, fluorescent buzz overhead. The carpet is that weird mix of industrial gray and sadness. A nameplate on the nearest door reads Duplication Room B. Okay, that's very normal and not horrifying at all. I push the door open. Inside, the walls are lined with glass tanks, each filled with a silvery fluid that ripples when I enter. Floating inside the tanks, faces, just the faces. No bodies, no labels, just hundreds of human faces, eyes closed, suspended in glow. One of them is mine, another is Cleo's. But not just one Cleo, dozens, some with short hair, some long, some bruised, some laughing, each a version of her that never got to finish the story. And here's where it gets wild. Some of those faces, they open their eyes as I walk by. No screaming, no panic, just watching, like they're waiting for me to do something. There's a console in the center of the room, buttons labeled iterate, resume, rewind, and release. And right next to it, a sticky note. Every family loses someone. This place just lets them do it twice. I'm so done, like emotionally bankrupt. But I press release anyway, and every tank shudders. The fluid drains, the faces vanish. Not fall, not collapse, just disappear like they were never there to begin with. Then silence, and for the first time I hear something unexpected. Bird song. It's faint, distant, but real. I run to the next door and fling it open, and I'm outside. Actual outdoors. Trees, sky, grass that smells like grass, sunshine that feels warm instead of ominous, but something's still wrong. There's a small town down the hill, quaint, too perfect. Like the set of a 90s sitcom nobody watched long enough to cancel. And guess what's playing on a screen in the town square? Me. Not live, not even recent. It's me in the library holding the old books, asking the mirror questions. A narrator's voice says, and when she asked who Cleo really was, she never expected the answer to be herself. God, that's so cheesy, so melodramatic, so wrong. Because Cleo isn't me, and I'm not a clone or a ghost or a grief construct. I'm just a person who asked too many questions in the wrong place. But maybe that's enough. I walk through the town. No people, just impressions. Chairs still warm, coffee cups half full, swings moving slightly in the wind. Everyone here left in a hurry, or never existed. At the far end of the square is a chapel, not religious, just chapel-shaped. Inside, pews, candles, an altar. And on the altar, a single item, a shoebox, wrapped in black twine. I don't want to open it, so obviously I do. Inside are a baby tooth, a page torn from a diary, a child's drawing of a girl with no face, and a cassette tape. Written on the tape, "Play me one last time." Okay, I find a dusty boombox, press play, then a voice, Cleo's, but not her. This one is older, tired, wiser. She says, "If you found this, I didn't make it out, or maybe I did, but either way, you need to stop following me. I was never supposed to be saved. I was the weight that made the story feel real. And you're the one who let it go." I sit there a long time, just listening to the silence after the tape ends. Then I leave the chapel. Behind it, there's a small hill. At the top, a sign, "Last exit before return." And beneath it, a lever. Pull it, and the world resets. I don't pull it. Instead, I lie down in the grass, watch the clouds drift, let the story fray at the edges. You know, there's an ongoing academic debate about simulated grief environments and whether they can create parasocial healing loops. I think Noir Fade tried, but it built a nightmare instead. And the only way out of a nightmare? Stop narrating it. So I close my eyes, and I say nothing, for now. When I open my eyes, it's night again. Same hill, same sky, but no stars. Only a pale moon that flickers like a dying light bulb, and someone sitting at the base of the sign that reads "Last exit before return." It's Cleo. Not a hallucination, not a version of her, not a memory, just her. Shoes off, legs curled under her, holding a worn-out paperback and looking like she's been waiting a while. She glances up and says casually, "You were supposed to sleep through this part." I say nothing, because I've asked every question already. There's nothing left to demand or discover. I just walk down the hill and sit beside her, close enough that our shoulders touch. She offers me the book. It's called The Missing Sister, a book I read when I was 10, a dumb mystery novel from the school library. It ends with the sister never being found, just this weird, lonely acceptance from the narrator. You remembered this? I ask. Cleo shrugs. It was your first disappearance, the first one you cried about. I blink. The pieces start to connect. Not in a clean way. Not like puzzle pieces snapping into place. More like watching dye swirl through water. You've been following me, I whisper. She nods. I wanted to see what made you keep looking, what made you dig through dusty books, follow people's stories, ask all the wrong questions. And I figured it out. You never wanted to solve the disappearances. You just didn't want to be the one left behind. Oof. Okay. Wasn't ready to be psychoanalyzed by my maybe dead, possibly imaginary sleep ghost. We sit in silence for a while. A gentle breeze tugs at the edge of the sky like it's painted fabric. Somewhere distant, bells chime. Not ominously, just sleepy. You know, Cleo murmurs, I wasn't the only one who vanished in Noir Fade, just the one people remembered. I look at her. How many others? 17 total. Over 9 years. No public pattern, no outcry. The town just moved on, like it was designed to forget. And you? I stayed behind to see if anyone would notice, to see if anyone like you would come. I should be horrified, but I'm just tired. Was any of this real? I ask. Cleo thinks for a long time. Then, define real. I mean, are you really here? Is Noir Fade a real town? Is this just some weird pocket universe dream simulator therapy dungeon I accidentally tripped into? She laughs softly. And that laugh is the most real thing I've heard since this started. Look, she says, maybe this place is a filter. It catches people like you, people who need to see something before they can believe it's time to let go. I hate that she's probably right, but I still have one more question. Why do the stories keep going in loops? Because people keep rewriting them. And there it is. The reason every mirror was watching, why the library rebuilt itself, why the train never stopped, why that one Cleo said, you won't get past the lake. It's not about solving anything. It's about accepting that not every missing person gets found. And maybe, just maybe, that's not a failure. Maybe it's an ending. Cleo stands. Time to go. Where? Wherever the story ends for you. I hesitate. Will I see you again? She smiles sadly. Only if you get lost again, which, let's be honest, probably next Tuesday. I laugh. She takes a step back into the grass and then she's gone. No shimmer, no sound effect. Just gone. I stand alone at the hilltop. The last exit before return sign flickers once. Then it too disappears. And I'm not in the town anymore. I'm in my bed. For real this time. Sheets warm, fan humming, phone charging beside me, everything familiar. Nothing haunting, except for one thing. On my nightstand is the paperback The Missing Sister, with a sticky note inside. You stopped looking. That's how I know you're okay. There's an ongoing academic debate about whether recursive dream states can act as processing systems for unresolved grief. Some say it's dangerous, too much immersion, not enough resolution. Others say it's the only real way to let the brain and the heart talk things out when words fail. I think it's both. I think Cleo was never real, but the ache she left behind absolutely was. And maybe now I can finally get some sleep. Or maybe just stay awake long enough to remind someone else. If you're still looking, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you remember, and sometimes remembering is the bravest thing you can do. There's a strange kind of quiet that settles in when you've seen too much. Not the peace and tranquility kind, more like the eerie stillness of a room after someone walks out and doesn't come back. I tried returning to normal life after that night, the paperback still on my nightstand, Cleo's note tucked inside like a secret I didn't dare explain. But Noir Fade had rewired me. The world looked the same, but it no longer felt like mine. I kept waking at 3:11 a.m. every night, not scared, just alert, as if something or someone was still unfinished. I didn't tell anyone. What would I even say? Hey, I spent a week in a disappearing town inside my brain with a maybe dead girl and 17 unaccounted for timelines. Anyway, How's your iced coffee? So I did what I always do. I started researching again, this time with a filter. Large families, not famous ones, not the ones who make headlines. I wanted forgotten stories, stories like Cleo's, hidden inside tiny communities and handwritten obituaries and grainy local news footage. That's how I found the Fremonts. Disappeared in 1999 from a commune outside Bern, Switzerland. 9 family members all gone within a 24-hour window. Left behind breakfast still warm on the table, no signs of struggle, no travel records, not a single bank withdrawal. Even stranger, their land was sold 2 weeks later by a person no one could identify. The money was wired to an untraceable account, and the property was converted into a wellness retreat 3 years later. No arrests, no grave markers, and no photos except for a blurry family portrait with everyone smiling too hard. The hair on my arms rose when I saw it, because the youngest daughter, front row, red dress, missing a tooth, she looked like Cleo. Not exactly, but close enough to rattle something loose in me. I started tracing connections, cousins, commune members, neighbors. Most were either dead or missing, and the ones still alive refused to talk. I don't want to end up like them, one former commune resident whispered on a forum that was deleted the next day. They stepped out of the narrative, and when you do that, the story eats you. Okay, what? I tried to message them. Nothing. I asked around. Dead ends. I sent FOIA requests. Blocked. I even reached out to the retreat now operating on the old Fremont land, pretending to be a journalist. They responded with one line, "We do not acknowledge the Fremont family." Oof, even corporations are gaslighting now. Still, I couldn't let it go, because the timing was too perfect. Cleo disappeared in the early 2000s. The Fremonts vanished just before that. And Noirfade had a small Swiss signpost in the library. I remembered it from one of my loops. Die Grenze ist eine Geschichte. The border is a story. Was Cleo part of this family? Was she caught in their loop before becoming part of mine? That's the part no one prepares you for. Sometimes the rabbit hole digs itself into you. But the weirdest thing happened next. I stopped remembering my own birthday. Seriously. I looked at my ID and it felt made up. My birth certificate looked edited. My parents' voices on old voicemails sounded rehearsed. It was like the more I dug into the Fremonts, the less grounded I became. One night, I opened a drawer and found a passport I don't remember applying for, with a photo I don't remember taking. And the name? Cleo Bernier. Okay, nope. I needed air. I left the house. Just a hoodie and my keys. No phone. I drove, didn't care where, just wanted to be in motion. Eventually, I found myself parked outside a nursing home 30 miles away. No clue why, until an old man in a wheelchair rolled up to my window and said, "You've been looking for too long. She wants you to rest now." Then he wheeled away like that was normal behavior. I got out, shaky, and followed. He led me to a private room. Pale walls, no decorations, just a single photo on the side table, the Fremont family. But this time, the faces were blurred. Not like censorship, like decay, like the photo itself was forgetting them. The old man looked at me and whispered, "They were never meant to last. The family was the experiment, the town was the container, and you were the witness." I didn't ask how he knew me. I just asked what I always do. "Where did they go?" He paused. Then they didn't disappear. They withdrew. There's ongoing academic debate about this idea in folklore studies, that some families or communities choose to disappear as a means of escaping imposed narratives, religion, politics, medicine, even time. Some say it's a psychological mass delusion. Others say they succeeded. Whatever the truth is, I was beginning to see the shape of it. Disappearances like Cleo's weren't isolated. They were echoes. And I was the bell, still ringing long after the tower crumbled. I wish I could say things made more sense after that, but if anything, they unraveled even more. I started seeing doubles, not like creepy hallway doppelgangers, don't worry, though I wouldn't put it past this story. No, I mean more like near versions of people I already knew. I'd spot someone I swore was my neighbor, only to find out they had a completely different name, accent, and job. Or I'd hear a voice on the train that sounded exactly like a friend I hadn't talked to in years, but when I turned around, it was a total stranger with Cleo's locket around her neck. You start questioning your memory real fast, and when memory doesn't feel stable, reality becomes a suggestion. I finally hit the wall when I visited a little historical library in Ghent, Belgium. It was supposed to have microfilm archives related to commune settlements in the 90s, possibly tied to the Fremont case. I never found the microfilm, but I did find a book I wasn't supposed to, titled On Families Who Vanish, A Quiet Theory. No author, no barcode, no library markings, just a plain cloth cover with that single title. Inside were handwritten pages, some barely legible. Most were theories, sounding more like poetic diary entries than academic research. One page stopped me cold. Open quote, "A family can be constructed like a town, and when that town no longer agrees with the rules of the mapmakers, it folds itself inward and rewrites its own ending. What appears as disappearance is merely narrative divergence. What appears as silence is just a different alphabet." Close quote. That was the first time I realized this might be bigger than the Fremonts. Bigger than Cleo. Bigger than Noir Fade. This might be a whole system, families created as experiments, communities as closed circuits, disappearances not as crimes but as withdrawals from design, a rogue version of opt-out. Which brings me to the final thing I found. A name I hadn't expected, my own. It appeared in a footnote, scribbled sideways, almost like an afterthought, open quote, "Witnesses like my full name may not vanish entirely, but they may be repositioned." Close quote. Excuse me, repositioned where? I slammed the book shut and looked around. The library was empty, and then the fire alarm went off. No fire, no smoke, just that shrill, unrelenting siren and flashing red lights. I ran, obviously. Who wouldn't? But once I got outside, the building didn't exist anymore. I swear to you. One moment I was standing in a 200-year-old brick library. The next, I was looking at a boarded-up storefront with a real estate sign from 2017. That was 3 weeks ago. And I haven't been able to find the library since, or the book, or anyone who remembers it. So I went home and did something desperate. I burned the locket. I don't know why. I just couldn't look at it anymore. It was like it had become a piece of evidence against me, like I was becoming the subject of my own story. But even as the flame curled the edges and blackened the tiny frame, I saw something flicker inside it. Not a photo, a reflection of Noir Fade. Still there, still watching, still remembering. So I stopped everything, stopped researching, stopped calling, stopped investigating. I deleted the documents, cleared my browser history, tossed the old notebooks, even erased the voicemail from the woman who claimed to know what happened to Cleo. Because I finally understood the most important part. These stories don't end. They just keep shifting shape until they find a quieter place to live. A podcast here, a sleep story there, a family photograph tucked into the back of a stranger's wallet. They're not gone. They're just folded. So I made a decision. If the tower's collapsing, maybe it's time I climb down. Let someone else hear the ringing for a while. Let someone else chase the next clue. After all, there's still an ongoing debate, an unresolved theory that says every missing person is part of a collective memory experiment. That their disappearance is not a failure of investigation, but a function of narrative interference. Or maybe it's just loneliness, or a sleep cycle gone wrong. Or maybe it's just what happens when you dig too long in the dark and forget you're not supposed to look directly into the silence. But here's something they don't tell you. The deeper you go into vanishing families, the more you realize you might not be looking for them. They might be looking for you. It's been nearly a month since I stopped everything. I thought quitting would be like flipping a switch. No more strange sightings, no more flickers at the edge of mirrors, no more whispering through walls that were supposed to be solid. But silence has its own echo, and let me tell you, doing nothing can feel just as haunted. For a while, I just tried being normal. grocery store runs, laundry, watching dumb sitcoms on full volume like I was trying to drown something out. And every time someone knocked on my door, I'd freeze, half expecting to see someone with a pale blue folder or, worse, the exact face of someone I thought I'd left behind in a story. But the weird part? Nothing happened. For days, weeks, and that's what made it worse. You ever get that feeling you're being watched by something that's tired of watching? Anyway, I caved again. Only a little. I didn't go back into the files or visit any cult survivor forums. I just looked at an old photo. It was from the Hollow Creek picnic, 1995. Smiling faces, plastic plates, a few kids mid-chase, and there in the corner, half in frame, was someone I hadn't noticed before. It wasn't Cleo. It was me. That same awful sweater I had in high school, the same gap in my left eyebrow from when I fell off a bike, the same tired posture. I was in the photo. From 1995. I wasn't even in that state in 1995. Suddenly, all the theories, the microfilm, the strange book, the interviews with people who didn't quite exist, they weren't just about the Fremonts or the town or the commune. They were about people like me. Like I'd been placed into the story as a way to keep it alive, as a marker, a way to preserve a memory that had nowhere else to go. And then, last night, I got a postcard. No return address. Postmarked from Vermont. Handwritten in the corner, you didn't burn it, you buried it. No signature, I shouldn't have, but I flipped it over. It was a black and white photo of a family I didn't recognize, 7 people sitting stiffly on an antique couch, the edges of their clothes slightly blurred like a misprinted image. But the baby in the middle? Wearing Cleo's necklace. That's when I heard it. A knock. Not at the door. From inside the closet. 3 taps, slow, patient, like someone polite. I didn't open it, not because I was afraid, but because I knew exactly what was inside. That part of the story that never ends, the part that waits for someone like you to come along and listen too closely, read too far, stay up too late. And here's where I should stop, where I should tuck this all into a blanket of doubt and say something vague like, maybe it was all a dream, or you probably imagined that last part. But let's be honest, you've made it this far. You've already seen the cracks. So here's my final theory, the one I've never shared. Some families don't disappear because they're in danger. They disappear because they're finished, like a book. And if you keep flipping pages after the story ends, well, maybe something starts reading you back. So before you ask yourself what really happened to Cleo, or the Fremonts, or Noir Fade, or the strange woman with your name who shows up in old photos, ask this. Are you sure you're not already in the story? Are you sure you're not next? It's all right. You're here now. The story is over, or at least it's resting. You've followed it all the way down, through fog-draped woods and whispered names, through rooms that weren't always rooms and towns that forgot their own shape. You stayed with it, even when the air got cold and strange, even when the trail led somewhere quiet and strange and sideways. That takes a kind of bravery you don't even realize you have. Now take a deep breath. Let the weight of it all fall away. The names, the dates, the theories. Let them drift, like ash off old letters, like soft static when the tape ends. None of this is asking you for answers anymore. If there's a face you keep seeing in your dreams tonight, don't worry. It doesn't want anything from you. It just remembers being remembered. That's all. And if you hear a knock, not the sudden kind, but soft and slow, like rain against a window, you don't have to open the door. You can just stay right where you are, wrapped in warmth, your chest rising and falling, your breath softening like fog on glass. After all, some stories aren't meant to be solved. Some are just meant to keep you company while you fall asleep. So turn over now, close your eyes, we'll leave the rest in the dark. End of script. Good night.